Hi, fabulous fourth grade math teachers. I'm so excited that you're here and you're ready to have a curriculum update for the week of September 26th. My name is Sherry Height. I am the math facilitator for grades 3 through 5 math. You can always get in touch with me for anything you need at extension 28705 or at slheight@mesquiteisd.org. Since I'm over your curriculum, if a link isn't working or you can't find a material that you need, just send me an email or give me a quick call and I'll see if there's any way that I can get you what you need. And if not, point you in the right direction to get you what you need, okay? I'm here to support you. I'm happy to come out and plan or anything at all that you need. I'm just really excited to have you here. And I just wanted to take a minute and just say thank you and that we appreciate you so much for being here. We know that you are just doing all kinds of great things for your school and for your students. And we just want you to know how appreciated you are by the math department. Okay, so starting off this week, that's coming up is a short week. Yay! We have some professional learning days, which I'm super excited about, so that you get time to learn on your campus. And then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we're going to continue on with multiplication. So last week, Ryan, if you saw his curriculum update, Ryan Castle, he's our K through 12 math coordinator. He did a video last week to talk about what you've been doing this week, which is multiplying by multiples of tens and hundreds, which really helps you with the area model for multiplication. And so on Wednesday, we're going to continue the area model, but also apply it to this idea of partial products and looking at partial products kind of in a different way without the area model, allowing students to still use the area model if they need it, but just relating those two items. And then we're going to take the partial products on Thursday and Friday and relate them to the standard algorithm. So we're going to compare and look for similarities and differences between partial products and the standard algorithm. And it's our hope that by doing this, that students start to understand why it is that we regroup that 10 and then add it after we multiply. If we can see what it looks like in partial products, maybe we won't forget and make those tiny errors that many students make when they're using the standard algorithm. So looking at those two TEKS, 4.4H is obviously very much more heavily tested, right? This is solved with fluency 1 and 2-step problems involving multiplication and division, including interpreting remainders. Well, we're going to take off the last part of that this week because, again, we're still focusing on the multiplication aspect of it. But one of the things we wanted to talk to you about is your pre-planning. So in your pre-planning, one of the things that we like to have you do before you meet with your PLC team is to take the IQ released items from the TEKS that you're going to be looking at for the week and not only print those out, but actually solving those problems and then looking for patterns. And so we're going to show you a couple of those in a moment, but I am going to tell you what patterns that I found in 44H and 44D when I printed them out and looked at them. And they're not all going to be relatable to this week, but just to keep in the back of our minds in the weeks coming forward. So what we noticed is that this was tested 9 times in 5 years, and 5 of those times, it was a 2-step problem where you multiply and then divide. So you had 2 parts of the problem where you might have to multiply these 2 numbers and then find that product, and then from that product, divide by something else in order to get an answer. 5 times, guys. So we're obviously not going to work on that just yet, but when we hit division, you will see that we will be hitting multiplication and division together quite a bit because we want to make sure we're hitting those 2-step problems where students have to multiply and divide. One time it was tested where you had to divide and then divide. One time there was a word problem where you had to multiply and then multiply again. That's within the last 5 years. Within the last 7 years, that's been tested that way twice, just FYI, because this is my job. That's all I look at, basically. And then one time it was tested where you had to multiply and then add something to it. And then one time, only one time out of the 9 times it was tested, has there been a one-step problem, and it was division, and it was where you had to interpret the remainder. It was that how much salsa is left over in the jug question, where they had to talk about that remainder. So we will hit a few times this week where we will have word problems where you have to multiply twice. So a 2-step where you have to multiply, and even maybe 1 or 2 that where you have to multiply and then add. But again, that's not how it's normally tested. And those are the kinds of patterns we want you to look for. Man, most of the time it's tested where you have to multiply and then divide. So we need to make sure we're hitting that when it comes time for that. And then for 4D, our supporting standard is only tested either 1 time a year or 0 times a year. So it's only been tested 2 times in 5 years. One thing I did notice about it, if I remember right, it's been on odd number years, so just keep that in your brain. However, it's been tested 1 time where you had to multiply a 4-digit by 1 digit, and 1 time where it was 2-digit by 2 digits. So anything is fair game, right? But the reason we're looking at 4D so heavily is because it really helps us when we start with the area model and then move to partial products and then move to the standard algorithm. It helps students not make those silly mistakes when they're having to regroup. So looking at 4H, you see both of these questions. One, number 28 was within the last 5 years, and then the other question was previously, I think 2016 perhaps. But if you'll notice, both of these questions are asking for you to multiply and then multiply again. So the first one, Diane worked 18 hours each week during the summer. She worked a total of 8 weeks, and she earned $9 for each hour. So we're going to multiply the hours times the weeks, and then the weeks times the hours to find out how much money Diane earned during the summer. And be thinking too that when we're getting into these 2-step problems, we can think about reasonableness and making these easy numbers to see about what our answer should be. Okay, because if we change 18 to 20 and we change the 9 to 10, we can real quickly come up with a reasonable answer for this. And definitely we can come up with answers that are not reasonable at all. And then the next question, a baker made 24 cakes each day for 2 days. So I'm thinking, okay, 24 cakes in day 1, 24 cakes in day 2. Obviously, that's 24 times 2 to start off with will give us the number of cakes. But then it says he used 4 cups of flour for each cake he made. Well, that's take that number, that 48, another 4 times, because 4 cups for each cake he made. Absolutely. So we're going to multiply again. What was the total number of cups of flour the baker used on these 2 days? Now, when I look at this question, I see that it's a griddable, and I think, oh my goodness, we don't have griddables anymore. But what we do have is the equation editor. And so I'm going to move my face down a little bit. This makes me really happy, this equation editor, because Nancy was telling us last week that our text entry is basically going to be equation editor, which made me super happy and made me sigh, have a sigh of relief, because I was thinking, man, I know I taught 3rd grade and they like to put spaces between everything when they are typing, don't they? So I was really worried, even if their answer was 36, they might put 3 space, 6, right? Maybe 4th graders do that too. I don't know. But if you'll notice in the equation editor, there is no space bar. So if their answer is 36, they are going to click on the 3 and the 6, and then they're going to be done. They've clicked their answer. And so that kind of made me breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief. For right now, we have text entry in Aware, and it sounds like coming very, very soon, maybe already here. We're not sure if it has glitches. Equation editor as well. So we're super excited about being able to practice that and putting that in some of our Aware practices that we've been trying to create for you. And then our other TEK, 4D, which is our supporting standard. An orchestra had 8 performances. There were 2,464 tickets sold for each performance. what was the total number of tickets sold for all 8 performances? And so I'm just thinking, okay, well, I have 8 groups and I have 2,464 tickets in each one of those groups. And I know when I know the number of groups and the number in each group, and I'm looking for the total, that I'm going to be multiplying. So having those conversations about when to multiply, even though right now we're just practicing multiplication, have those conversations right now too about how do we know this is multiplication? Why is it not division? Keep having those conversations. Those are going to be really helpful when we get into adding the division to it in the next few weeks. Okay, and last week we had Ryan show us a little bit about the area model and putting partial products in the area model. So this week we're going to do that, the area model, but we're also going to relate it to partial products. And so that's kind of how our week is going to start off, and then we're going to relate it all the way to the standard algorithm. So even though it's a short week, we're going to kind of get into 3 different ways altogether. And so even though this is just skill, we're going to do it within the context of a word problem. That's the best way to teach a skill, right? So Jana rode roller coaster B twice. How many feet of roller coaster did she ride? And so we have to look up here for coaster B. Oh, wow, 6,072 feet is how long roller coaster B is. So in order to do that on the area model, we have to think, okay, let's break up that 6,072. So we're going to break it up 6,000. We don't have any hundreds. 72. And how many times did she ride the roller coaster? Twice. So we're going to multiply it by 2. And so when we multiply, in order to look for commonalities in partial products and the standard algorithm, when we get to that point, it's a little bit easier if we start with the ones place. And so we're going to start there today and go ahead and multiply 2 times 2 in the area model. And what do we get? 4. Well, if we do 2 times 2 here, we also get 4. Look at that. That's amazing. So now we're going to look at 70 times 2. Well, I know my basic fact, 2 times 7 is 14, and then add my 0, and I come up with 140. What happens when I do 7 times 2 over here? Look at that, same partial product, 140. Notice I'm not in the standard algorithm yet. That's going to come next. But for this first day, we're just relating the area model, which actually has the visual, to partial products, which just has the numbers, but it's the same thing, right? Okay. So obviously there are no hundreds for me to multiply. So I'm going to skip over here and I'm going to go 6,000 times 2. I know 6 times 2 is 12, but then I can't forget those 3 zeros and I get, oh, sorry, forgot my 0, 12,000. Okay. And so same thing over here, 6,000 times 2. Notice we're using our place values here. We're doing 2 times 2, 70 times 2. 6,000 times 2 instead of 7 times 2, because is this really 7 times 2? No, it's 7 tens 2 times, 70 times 2. So when we get through over here, we would just add this all up together, wouldn't we? 12,144. Well, over here, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add up, lining up those place values, and we get the same thing, 12,144. So this would be where I would talk to students about what's the same, what's different. Could you, if you wanted to, start from this side and do 12,144? Would that work? Absolutely, it would work, and that would be fine. It's just not going to transfer as easily to the standard algorithm, but that's okay too, because I think they're still going to find those connections. Okay, in our curriculum, we have many great resources, so I hope that you're getting in there and you're looking at all the things. One of the resources that we have in there for partial products for this day, where we're relating the area model with the partial products, are these beautiful QR code task cards. And so with these task cards, one of the things I want you to think about is if you have students who are struggling with the partial products, but they did a real good job with the area model, let them draw the area model on their dry erase board in order to do 2 times 5 is 10. And in order to see that this is 30 times 5, not 3 times 5, 30 times 5 is 150, and 100 times 5 is 500. And then they're going to add those up and use their QR code and see if they got the right answer on those task cards. So that's just one of the little things that we've put in the curriculum for you, for our students to practice partial products. But I think it is smart to go ahead and allow those students that still need to use the area model to use it. So for example, I would even talk to students and say, hey, if once I've done this, my QR code says that I didn't get it right, then I'm going to redo it using the area model on my dry erase board and see if I can go ahead and get the answer right. Okay, and then Thursday and Friday, we are relating partial products to the standard algorithm. And so I really like the idea of relating all 3 to each other. So starting off small is okay, even though we go up to 4-digit by 1-digit, for students to see, the similarities and the differences. I think it's absolutely fine to start with a small number, like a 2-digit by a 1-digit, because that is one of the things that they do. And this kind of takes them back to 3rd grade. However, they're taking it a step above because we're figuring out how they relate to each other. So you'll notice here that we have 4 times 4 is 16 and 20 times 4 is 80. And when we add 80 and 16, we get 96. So when we look at this and then we look at this, we want to look at, okay, what's the same? How do they relate to each other? And so we might just say, okay, well, 4 times 4 is 16 here. Do you see that anywhere here in the partial products? And hopefully they will see 4 times 4 is 16 is just the same there. We're just multiplying this 4 times 4 to get this 16, right? Now, on the standard algorithm, when we multiply 4 times 4, this is what it looks like. What do you notice about that? These are the questions I want you asking your students, like, why is that 1 up there? Like, I don't understand. What do you see that's different? And hopefully some of them are going to say, hey, if I had this next to this, that would be 16. That kind of reminds me of when we were grouping addition, right? Okay, so here is the really fun part, though. Oh, what do you notice? See, I already asked and I forgot to click my little button. Then we go to 4 times 20. Well, I know 4 times 2 is 8, and then add my 0, so that's 80. Do you see that anywhere here? And hopefully they're going to notice, oh, looky there. There's my 80. There's my 20 times 4. There's my 20 times 4, right? Well, now we've got to multiply 20 times 4 here as well. But wait a minute. We got something a little different. So what do you wonder? And so this is a good time to have students turn and talk and have them try to figure out, why is this 96? I did 20 times 4, that would be an 80, right? And then look at this, 80 plus 16 equals 96. Hey, what do we see is in common? Oh my gosh, we got 96 in all 3, but how did we get this 9 10s right here? See if your students can discover, oh my goodness, when we multiplied 20 times 4, that was 80, but we had 1 more 10 to add here, and that was 90. If our students discover that rule, guys, maybe they won't forget to add this 10, okay? So that is the reason that we are trying to relate all 3 of these together. Okay, and so then we'll start to talk about the steps to the standard algorithm. I think it is a great idea, though, to have students, when they practice the steps to the standard algorithm, to also check themselves by doing it in another way. Check themselves by using the area model, or check themselves by using partial products, just to make sure that they're not forgetting one of these guys up here. Okay. Regroup is add any extra tens, regroup if necessary. Okay. These things that they forget, if we show it 2 ways, then we're not going to make those tiny mistakes in our multiplication, are we? Kind of reminds me of something Nancy says all the time. 4 plus more equals transfer. Well, if I can show you 3 or 4 different ways to multiply a 3-digit number by a 1-digit number, then I probably have it down, don't I? Okay, and so I know that was like really quick, but we have a short week this week, don't we? So if you have any questions at all about this week or anything else, we will have office hours open on Tuesday, September 20th from 3:30 to 4. So feel free to hop on to that Zoom link and just ask us any questions that you need. Also, don't forget that I'm available all the time. I am off campus a lot, coming out to see you guys on your campuses, but I generally try to get back to you within 24 hours. And if I'm at my desk right away, hopefully many of you can attest to that. I want to be available to you at all times. But anytime you have a question, feel free to reach out to me. But if not, Tuesday, September 20th, 3:30 to 4. And also, please don't forget our survey. So please fill out a survey using this QR code. It will let us know that you watched and help us serve you better in the future. Just give us your feedback and let us know if these are helping or not. I know that our general intention was to make sure that we help teachers that were new to a grade level or new to math content or new to Mesquite ISD kind of see how we plan and then also show you strategies, because like most of these, I didn't learn how to multiply like this when I was growing up for sure. But also we just want to let you know, like, here's how we're talking about teaching it. One thing I forgot to mention that I do want to make sure and say is that on just about every lesson, even though we most of the time start off with some kind of math and practice teach piece, we usually have a Google slide linked somewhere on your page, and it may be that you only use those Google slides on day 2 or whatever. But just so that you know always that even if we weren't doing these unit previews, just about every lesson on slide 2 in your Google Slides is a video of how to teach this. And so I didn't show you one of those videos this time. I just kind of went through it with you. But even on this area model lesson, we have a video that shows you like how to use the area model, how to use the standard algorithm, all of that. So feel free to use those and then give us any questions that you have that go along with those too. We're super excited that you joined us today and hope you have a great rest of your week. Thanks so much.